Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we are testing the fastest fanless PC we have seen here on the channel to date. This is called the LIVA Core, and it's got a Core M processor, a Broadwell Core M. This is the 5Y10C. We've seen this chip on a bunch of laptops that we've reviewed previously. A very high performing processor, no fan, and it performs as every bit as good in this desktop version as it does on some of the laptops that we've looked at. So we're going to see some great uses, especially for home theater folks in this review. So I think you're going to be very pleased with its performance. A little on the pricey side. This is about $455 on Newegg at the time that you're seeing this video, and if you want to add an OS, it's going to cost you extra. So you're going to be over $500 if you want Windows 10 pre-installed. If you have a license, of course, you can bring that with you. It's also Ubuntu compatible. I would imagine OpenELEC will probably also work with it too. So you do have some options on operating systems. For $455, there is no OS installed. 4 gigabytes of RAM. I would have liked to have seen 8, but you can get by with 4. It does have a 120 gigabyte M2 SSD, which you can swap out. That one is accessible to you. The RAM, however, is not. It is hardwired to the motherboard, and you are not getting that RAM off. So you're stuck with 4 gigs, but you might be able to go beyond the 120 gigabytes that it has on board. It has a lot of ports on it, actually. You've got the micro SD card slot, of course, 3 USB 3.0 slots on the front here. This yellow one is a charging slot in addition to data. So what you can do here is charge a tablet at 2 amps, so you get a higher amperage out of that port. It will also charge your device when the computer is off. So that is a full-time charging port, and it is data too when the computer is on. You've got a Kensington lock here. This is made out of metal. It's actually a really nice looking case. You can even see the heatsink they installed for the SSD on the top here. It looks really attractive, actually. I like the way it looks. On the back, you've got another USB 3 port, so we've got 4 total. You also have 2 HDMI outputs. You can drive a 4K display. This is a standard Intel graphics chipset on here, so I believe you can get one 4K along with like a 1080p display. Maybe you can go up to 2K perhaps, but you're not going to get 2 4K displays out of the back. You could definitely get 2 1080p displays though if you want to do that. You have gigabit Ethernet here as well as a headphone microphone jack too. So a nice little compact design. Doesn't get too hot while you're using it, and we're going to boot it up right now and see how it performs. Now, before we get into its web browsing prowess, I did want to test out the speed of the SSD for you. So we're going to load up the Blackmagic disk speed test here. We'll give it a whirl and see what kind of speeds we're getting. About 440 to 450 megabytes per second on the writes. That's what I've been seeing all night with this test. And on the read side, we're seeing speeds into the 470, 480 megabyte territory. So a very, very fast SSD on here, a true SSD. So you will be able to get some really decent disk performance here, as well as some of the performance out of the processor you're about to see. So let's take a look now at some web browsing. All right, let's hit up the New York Times real quick and see how fast everything loads up. I am running on wireless right now. It does have AC wireless built in. And we'll wait for the page to render here. It feels pretty good. It's loading up as I would expect it to. We've got a lot of extra stuff that comes in here with ads and everything else, but if we click on maybe an article here, we'll just see how fast everything loads up so you can get a feel for how well web browsing will be on the device. This is running again with the Core M processor, which is a nicely performing chip. So you're going to see a performance that is really going to feel pretty good for a fanless mini PC. In fact, it will probably feel about the same that a higher end PC felt about 4 years ago or so. So they've really reduced the power requirements for this kind of performance pretty well, actually. I'm going to take a look here on YouTube now for a video that I shot at 60 frames per second, so you can get a feel as to whether or not it can handle playing that back. So I'm just going to skip this ad here. I'm going to go over to our screen here and switch this on. It is in 60 frames per second right now. I should note that I am on a 30 frames per second video system, so we're not going to see the full frames per second, but it is able to process the file here quite well. And when I hooked this up to my TV earlier this evening, which is a 1080p 60 set, these videos played back just as well as you are seeing it play back here. And on the Octane benchmark test running with Google Chrome, we get about the same score as we get on many of the other Core M devices that we've looked at. So it really is performing as well as some of those laptops that we have played with previously on the channel. All right, let's take a look now at Microsoft Word. We're going to load up our very strenuous newsletter template here to get a feel for how that renders on screen. So as I scroll through the document here, you can see everything is rendering very quickly, which is good to see. We usually see this render a little bit slower on some of the Atom fanless PCs, so you can definitely get a feel for the greater processor power we have here. Text is reflowing very quickly, very immediate, and as I'm typing, things are coming back on screen very fast there too. So we're seeing some really good performance out of here, pretty much on par with where i5 processors may have been a couple of years ago, and certainly a lot faster than the Atom processors. So now we're going to play some games. Let's take a look at Minecraft. Okay, here we are kind of running through a snowy mountainside in Minecraft, and our frame rate is looking pretty good. We're getting anywhere between 30 and 50 frames per second. It's kind of all over the place a little bit, but very much on par with other Core M processor-based devices that we've seen. We're certainly exceeding the ability of my video system to display the video as fast as it's generating it, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of clipping there as we're moving around, but very nice performance here in Minecraft. This is the Java-based Minecraft. That is the one most people are still using. There is a Windows 10 version which might run a little bit better than this, but this is the one that if you're out in the market for a PC and you or your kids are playing Minecraft, this is the version you're likely going to run. Let's take a look now at Rocket League. Now, although this is the best performing fanless PC I have tested, it's still not good enough to run more modern games that are a bit more demanding like Rocket League here. So you can see I turned down a lot of the settings here to get the best possible performance I can get. And as you can see, it's, it's playable, but it's not the fastest frame rate you'll see. It's definitely a lot more sluggish than you might experience on a device with a built-in graphics processor. So that lack of a GPU is really going to suffer a bit here. So you're not going to see, again, modern games like this one working very well, but some games like Minecraft will do okay, so just keep that in mind. Now in the 3D Mark CloudGate test, which does kind of measure how it will stack up against more modern games, we get a score of 2,647, so not the fastest performer in the world, especially with modern games like Rocket League, but casual games should work okay, and emulation is a pretty good experience on here too, including even the GameCube emulator Dolphin. So let's see how that runs. So here we are running the Dolphin GameCube emulator, and we're seeing really good performance here. Better than I've seen on some of the Core M laptops that we've looked at, actually running with the same chip. So very good performance. As you can see, we're locked in at a solid 30 frames per second here, really getting some good performance even in the water. So I think from an emulation standpoint, you're going to do well with things like the GameCube all the way back to the beginning of gaming time. So for home theater users, this might be attractive because you will have a silent fanless device that can play a lot of games going back several decades quite well, even up to things as advanced as the GameCube. So nice performance there. Let's take a look now and talk a little bit about Kodi, because I think that's where this machine is really going to shine. All right, so we've got Kodi loaded up here. I've got a bunch of Blu-ray MKVs stored on my NAS drive down in the basement. I'm going to load up Back to the Future Part 2 because that is the movie we want to see this week. It's the day after Marty McFly landed here in 2015. So it spins up very quickly. I did connect Ethernet up to my device here just to limit some issues, but AC wireless was working pretty well. The Ethernet is just a little bit faster at getting things spun up. So we've got the movie playing here. I skipped ahead already to a different portion of the film, right to where Marty acquires his hoverboard, which I'm still waiting for. But very nice performance here. Boots up right away. Good video playback performance. And what's really nice is that this is very friendly for home theater PC enthusiasts, because not only does it work with the DTS-HD audio as well as the Dolby TrueHD, you can see a shot of that proving that I got it to work, but it also is able to do the 23.976 playback also, so you can get smooth playback with those films shot at 24 frames per second. So from those two standpoints, which is what a lot of home theater people are looking for, you're gonna have a very good experience. You can put your noisy drives on a NAS down somewhere in your basement or away from your home theater room and have this silent box play back your movies into your home theater system with all of the high-end audio that you come to expect from it. So I was very happy to see how well this works with those things, because that's something that's really critical, and it works really nice through Kodi too. So I'm very impressed with this little box. It's not cheap. It's it's a little bit more than what you might see with some of those Atom devices we've looked at, but it performs very well because it has a much better performing processor. So you're going to get all your home theater PC stuff accomplished, as well as maybe some of your emulation accomplished, and of course, boring things like word processing and email and everything else, but maybe not so much with the modern gaming. This is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you find the channel helpful, you too can contribute for as little as $1 a month. Visit Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more.